Fiancé breaks up with me and leaves me with his sick son. His parents have kicked him out of the house and given it to me. F32 and M38 have been engaged for over 8 months. We've been living together in his place for a year. He has an autistic 7-year-old child from a previous marriage who gets sick frequently. The boy needs a lot of care and attention. My fiancé contacted him the other week from a state about 6 hours away. This was his ex-wife. He explained that he needed to go help her, since there was an emergency. I was surprised because they rarely talk to each other, except concerning their son's care. Still, I knew that complications would arise, so I said yes. He left the same day, saying he'd be back in 2 or 3 days. After a week, he still has not returned. I phone him every day, and he always says the same thing: he'll be back soon, but it's taking longer than anticipated. But he never tells me exactly what's going on. For the time being, I'm here alone, caring for his son. It's pretty challenging. I still care about the boy, even though I am not qualified to meet his exact requirements. I'm not sure how to keep him under control when he has a meltdown. Being unwell with a fever for a few days is concerning for me, because I don't know much about his medical history. Simple activities that I'm not always sure how to complete for him require my assistance. Every day, I am more disturbed and frightened. Why isn't my fiancé telling me what type of emergency it is? What is taking so long? I'm beginning to wonder whether there isn't something else going on, or if there is truly an emergency. When I ask him directly what's wrong, he avoids the subject by saying, "It's complicated," or "I'll explain when I get back." I'm not sure what to believe. Part of me suspects he's lying about everything, because I believe something significant has occurred. Dealing with his son all the time wears me out. It's definitely more than I bargained for. But I adore the boy. I'm not his parent, thus I shouldn't be his sole family carer for a long time. I'm terrified of making a mistake. What upsets me even more is that my fiancé does not appear to grasp how difficult this is for me. When I call, he doesn't ask how I'm doing. He has not volunteered to return or send someone else to help. It's as though he forgot about us. Nobody knows what to do. I am very disoriented, yet I can't leave his son alone. But I'm frightened of going too far and causing difficulties. It occurs to me that I should contact my fiancé's parents and ask if they could come help. I don't want to make my fiancé feel awful if he is coping with an emergency. Am I reacting too much? Should I wait longer? Or is this as bizarre as I think? I am beginning to have reservations about our partnership as a whole. What does his ability to leave us without saying anything indicate about his love for me and our future? I would much appreciate any assistance. Has anyone else encountered a situation like this? What do you think I should do? Yes, it ballooned up overnight. I appreciate your comments and aid in general. I'm going to try to answer some often asked questions. No, I did not text him. He responds, but in the same vague manner. No, I don't know how to contact his ex-wife. I had never seen her before. Even though his son attends special education, school is out for the summer. I've been able to care for him around the clock because I work part-time from home. We have been together for 2 years. I've known my fiancé's kid for a long time. Still, I've never been away from him for more than a day. Many of you advised me to contact the police in his ex-wife's city to see whether he was okay. I'm thinking about it, but I don't want to cause problems if there is a family issue. I think I should give him one more day to give me a good explanation. If he doesn't, I'll contact his parents first, then the cops. Some of you wish to learn more about our friendship and his prior marriage. I will talk about what I know. He was married to his former wife for 9 years. They separated when their child was 4 years old. According to what he told me, the stress of having a child with special needs contributed significantly to their breakup. His ex-wife battled because she was miserable and had too many responsibilities. They decided to end their relationship despite their initial plans to seek counseling. The split wasn't particularly horrible, but it wasn't terrific either. The biggest issue that divided them was how they cared for and housed their son. In the end, they agreed that my fiancé should have primary custody. His ex visits him once a month, plus once during the summer and winter breaks. My fiancé claims that his ex-wife, despite her love for their son, struggles to follow his rules. As a result, she agreed to give up some control. She is regularly late, yet she pays child support. My fiancé dislikes talking about my mother, but he has seen that she has been struggling since the separation. I believe he meant mental health, or possibly drug problems, though he never mentioned for sure. When we first met, my fiancé had been divorced for almost a year. He told me right away that he had a child with special needs and made sure I understood what I was getting into. I appreciate his child since I know it is his top priority. One of my favorite things about him. He is an excellent father who cares deeply for his children. Our bond grew really quickly. After a year of dating, we moved in together, and 4 months later he proposed to me. Overall, things have been very decent. He is pleasant to me, responsible, and we haven't had too many problems adjusting to live as a mixed family. That is why the current scenario is so awful and confusing. It goes against his nature to abandon us like this and remain so quiet. I kept thinking if I'd missed any red flags or other road signals. Since many people have inquired, here are some additional details regarding his son. He is 7 years old. When his plans are disrupted, or he becomes overly enthused, he primarily communicates through computer software and simple signals. He often throws rage outbursts. Because he is allergic or sensitive to many foods, he must adhere to a certain diet. He also has epilepsy, which is largely controlled with medication but occasionally causes seizures. He is small for his age and struggles with several of his motor abilities. He requires assistance with going to the restroom, getting dressed, and washing. He wears pull-ups at night and sometimes during the day when we are going to be gone for an extended period of time. He attends a special education program that provides speech therapy during the school year. Occupational therapy and other services are available. Even at home, he typically requires constant supervision. He usually wakes up numerous times at night and has trouble falling back asleep. I've helped care for him previously, but only with my fiancé by my side. The first thing I've done is accepted full responsibility for him, which is difficult. It concerns me to think of doing something incorrectly or ignoring an indication that he requires medical attention. Some individuals advised me to seek treatment from his therapist or doctor. That is a good notion. I'm likely to do so today. I'll compile a list of all of his doctors and figure out what to do next. I am unsure about the following things I will do with my fiancé. Part of me believes this is bad, regardless of the cause, but another part of me wants to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll think about it while sleeping and decide whether to contact the police or his parents in the morning. I'd like to thank you again for all of your assistance and support. I will make improvements as I have additional information. I have some news, but it's not good. I eventually gave up this morning and contacted my fiancé's parents. They didn't bother that he was out of town and drove right over to aid their grandson. I decided to be courageous and call the cops in the city where his ex-wife lives to see whether they were safe while on the road. The police officer I spoke with felt sorry for her and stated they would send someone to her home. After approximately an hour, the cops called me back. They say they're in contact with my fiancé and his ex-wife. Both are good. There's no danger here. The police officer was unable to provide any information due to privacy rules, but he stated unequivocally that there was no evidence of a crime or risk. Finally, my fiancé called, as I was gathering this information with my future in-laws. He informed me he was going home immediately to explain everything to me in person, because he knew I was upset and bewildered. He told me not to make any decisions until we could discuss them in person. I'm not sure what to think. I'm pleased he's fine, but I'm also angry and upset. What could possibly be the reason for leaving us like this? His parents are as puzzled and wounded as I am. They've offered to stay with us until he returns tonight late. I am appreciative for their assistance with their grandson, but I am dreading the upcoming conversation. It appears that our entire relationship has been brought into question. I'll let you know again after we speak. Thank you for your assistance with this unusual issue. Change 2. It's been hours since I've looked at my screen, trying to find the appropriate words to describe what happened. I promised to let you all know, and here it is. My hands are shaking as I type, and I still can't believe it's true. Instead of arriving home last night as planned, my fiancé called. I sent him a mail immediately. Seeing his name on my phone made me feel better. That type of relief did not last long. He said, "I'm not coming home," in an unusually calm tone. I am going to stay with Sarah. His ex-wife was the woman he said required immediate assistance. I felt as if someone had stabbed me in the stomach. What do you mean you aren't coming home? I managed to quit breathing. How is your son? What about us? He did not talk again for a long time. Sarah and I decided to try to get married again. After reconnecting over the last week, we both believe that this is the correct thing to do. It was difficult for me to breathe. This cannot be occurring in this manner. However, I continued, but your son, she needs you. He has autism. He needs everything to be consistent and timely. You can't simply leave him. There's still more time to wait. His voice was softer, almost ashamed, when he spoke again. After discussing it, we both agree that caring for a child with such high demands would be too difficult while our relationship was improving. We believe it would be best if he stayed with you and my parents for now. What I saw was crimson. This was not something the man I knew, the wonderful father I had come to adore, would ever say. Would not abandon his child, particularly one with special needs. Are you abandoning your autistic son because he interferes with your new plans? My amazement grew into rage and I roared. What are you? I do not know you very well right now. I didn't pay attention when he attempted to explain his conduct. I told him how sick and hurt I felt. I labeled him a liar, a coward, and a horrible father. I informed him I was going to inform the police that his son had been abandoned. You cannot hold protests every week. I grabbed you and hung up. As my head whirled, I sat there stunned and silent for a few minutes. Then, I heard a small voice behind me. "Where's Dad?" When I looked around, I noticed her fiancé's son holding up his iPad in the opening. Once again, my heart began to break. How should I tell him this? I got him back to sleep by faintly mentioning that Dad will be home shortly. It did not feel right. I contacted his parents while he was already asleep. When they arrived an hour later, they appeared bewildered and terrified. I told them everything and sat them down. His father's face got redder as I spoke, and his mother began to cry. When I was finished, his father yelled, "What about your son? Would that be too difficult or challenging? I will show you how to do the work." His mother had tears in her eyes and shook her head. She repeatedly said, "I don't understand. He isn't like this. He adores that boy more than anything else." We stayed awake much of the night, feeling sad, unsure, and angry at various points. We made a plan before sunrise. First, we visited the police station. When we told the police what had transpired, they were concerned. They informed us they were going to investigate child neglect and took statements from all of us. The officer informed us that instances involving children with special needs are considered extremely seriously. We are going to look into this thoroughly. Next, we spoke with a lawyer on family law issues. I wasn't legally married to his son, therefore I had no claim to him. However, because they are his next of kin, his parents may seek instant custody. The lawyer worked promptly on the paperwork. Throughout the entire process, my phone was humming with texts and missed calls from my fiancé. Didn't really pay attention to any of them. What he said, and how he said it, made me sick. When we arrived home, his parents sat me down at the kitchen table. Even though they appeared fatigued and pained, their eyes gleamed with determination. "We have made a decision," his father remarked, his voice austere but emotionally charged. "We're drowning him." I blinked unexpectedly. "Are you clear?" "That is a major stride." His mother nodded, blotting away a tear. "We cannot respect what he has done, abandoning his child and lying to all of us. Even though he is our child, we want nothing to do with someone who would do that. Our son raised him better than this," his father said. "I know I can't call," his mother said. "We also wanted to talk about the house and our grandson. We want you to stay here for as long as you need to. We know this has been crazy, and we don't want you to have to worry about where to live on top of everything else." I tried to say something, but she stopped me with a hand. "Our youngster trusts you, and you've been excellent. We believe it is better for him to stay with you for the time being, since he is familiar with the situation. We will take precautions to ensure his stability, however." My eyes welled up with tears, which made sense. Their politeness was incredible, especially given their state of anguish. "Thank you," I managed to whisper. The following several days passed as a haze of activity. We visited social workers, and had many sessions with the kid of my ex-fiancé attempting to explain what was occurring in words he could grasp. Seeing his uncertainty and anguish was terrible. Not understanding why his dad wasn't returning home, he kept asking for him. Though we did our best to console him, how would you explain to a 7-year-old autistic boy that his father had left him? My ex kept text messaging and calling. At last I read some of his messages. They combined requests for understanding, apologies, and defenses. He said he still loved his son, but felt this was for the best. He mentioned that Sarah and he were intending to start over in another state. Saying it would just complicate matters, he urged me not to notify the authorities. I ignored all of it. Instead, I forwarded every correspondence to the investigator working on the matter. The days stretched into weeks, and we adjusted to a different schedule. Parents of my ex visited daily to assist with their grandson. Knowing how vital routine was to him, we cooperated to keep his calendar as nearly perfect as I put myself into studying all I could on raising an autistic child. I visited with his doctors and therapists, joined internet support groups, and read books. Though at times it was overwhelming, I was resolved to do right by this small child who had gone through so much. Through it all, his grandparents were really outstanding. They were there for every minor triumph, every sleepless night, every meltdown. Though I knew they were still working through their own loss and resentment over their son's behavior, they never grumbled. About 1 month after everything transpired, one evening I was sitting on the porch after at last getting my ex's son asleep. His granny came out to sit next to me. "How are you holding up, sweetheart?" she questioned softly. I grumbled and ran a hand over my hair. "I'm managing. Though difficult, we are moving toward it." She nodded, stroking my hand. "You are doing a really wonderful job. We really appreciate you staying by our grandson through all of this." Tears were pricking at my eyes. I love him. Simply I could not see walking away, no matter how hard it gets. she whispered, a sorrowful smile. In general, this is what it means to be a parent. It's unfortunate that our youngster couldn't understand that. We stood together in silence for a long, watching the stars emerge. Finally, she said. Have you heard anything else from him? I shook my head. Not since last week. To defend himself, he sent another long email. I said, none. She sighed heavily. This is something I never expected to say about my own child, but now he has to cope with it. He decided what to do. I nodded, feeling both angry and sad. I can't help but wonder whether I missed any warning signs that this was about to happen. She placed her hand on my shoulder. Don't be nasty to yourself like that. We were completely unprepared for this. He lied to each of us. While I was sitting there, I was struck by how much had changed in such a short period of time. I believed I knew what my future held a month ago. My objective was to marry the guy I loved, care for his special needs son, and start a life with him. The future is no longer with us. It was replaced by something I had never imagined conceivable. During our relationship, I lived with my ex-fiancé's parents and assisted in the raising of his child. My days were filled with therapy visits, managing my meltdowns, and a variety of little issues. As I sat on the porch, I discovered that, while this wasn't the life I had envisioned, I was beginning to enjoy it. I fell completely in love with this little guy when his father abandoned him. His grandparents could have abandoned this mess, but they welcomed me as family instead. I wanted to yell at times because everything felt so unfair, but I also discovered love, purpose, and a sense of connection that I had not anticipated to find after being misled. I learned through gossip that my ex-fiancé and his ex-wife had relocated out of state. The cops continue to monitor the situation. His actions are likely to have legal ramifications. I generally want him to stay away, but I also hope he gets what he deserves for his actions. We're all resolved to provide his child the love and security he requires. He should improve. I don't know what will happen next. However, I am exactly where I should be right now, taking care of a young child who deserves all of the love in the world. I doubt I'll ever fully understand why my ex-boyfriend did what he did. I appreciate all of your aid at this difficult time. Your helpful remarks and words of encouragement have inspired me to focus on our new family life and provide my ex-spouse's son with the attention he deserves. That is why I may not publish again for a while, but please know that your assistance has truly transformed our life. Thank you for seeing it. If you haven't already, please join and click the bell to be informed about more disturbing real-life happenings around you.